Radio. As you can see, we already got our in-studio guest here.
One of many guests today.
Enson Inoue, that's right. And one of many guests today, that's right. And our fearless leader is rolling in here shortly, so we'll have the show going shortly.
We hope there's 2 minutes.
Yeah, we hope.
Otherwise, it's Dan and Enson.
Exactly. Danny, did you say what you had for breakfast this morning, Danny, or?
I had a cup of tea, some almonds, and an apple.
Okay. That sounds like a really good.
Turn up Enson, by the way? Sorry.
Yeah, no worries. They're up.
Hello.
And we're just on pre-show right now, but you can go on the mic. And if you want, actually, tell us what you have for breakfast so we can level your mic out before we jump on live air here.
She's going to say nothing.
She's going to say nothing, right?
Everybody says nothing. Or coffee. Is it coffee or is it nothing? Coming up in a minute.
Okay.
Ask her what her favorite Simpsons quote is and why.
Anna, what is your favorite Simpsons quote and why?
Don't have a cow, man.
That's a classic one. Can't go wrong there.
Now the real question is, coming up in 30, was she going to say nothing for breakfast?
No, I have my breakfast.
Oh, okay.
Did you?
Did who? Did I?
Good,
Yeah.
Good.
I had breakfast, yeah.
What did you
I'm over in New York, so it's like almost lunchtime.
Oh, okay.
I had some fruit, some nuts, and some tea. So.
Wow. Eat like a bird.
Yeah. You know? Alright, coming up. Stand by, guys.
Cool.
This is your captain speaking.
Right
We are making our descent into Las Vegas McCarran Airport. On behalf of our crew, we'd like to thank you for flying MMA Junkie Airlines. Now please fasten your seatbelts and put your tray tables in your upright position because the descent is going to be a little bit bumpy.
Alright, Junkie Nation, it's time to roll, baby, on MMA Junkie Radio with Gorgeous George and Go. This is what we doing while we do it, baby. All night long, we rollin'! Yeah!
The MMA Junkie Radio revolution is upon us.
Can you dig it?
There's no escape. No escape. Through the vast frontier of cyberspace and through a sea of stars in outer space.
One small step for man, one giant leap for mankind.
We've solidified our combat communications stranglehold.
We are controlling transmission.
With the use of MMA Junkie Radio and SiriusXM satellite radio technology. MMA Junkie Radio. Commence transmission. Live from MMA Junkie Radio HQ in the fight capital of the world, Las Vegas, Nevada. Here are your hosts, Gorgeous George and Goes.
From the fight capital of the world, inside the beautiful Mandalay Bay Racing Sportsbook, you are listening to the MMA Junkie Radio Show, the only show that matters. I'm your host, Gorgeous George.
Oh, yeah.
With me today is our fight analyst, Dan Tom. He's our latest addition to the show. Of course, back east, he'll produce the whole show. It's Danny Otto asking people what they had for breakfast. He's got to change that one up. People leave him hanging. Oh, an orange. That's it.
I did change that up today.
That was me. Right. That was me that asked that.
Ask Anna what we asked her. Ask Anna what we asked her.
All right.
My favorite Simpsons quote.
Oh. What if she just would have said dope? That wouldn't have really helped much for the testing, right? You ask him like a long, complicated question, like, what do you put in your omelets or something? Anna Julaton, former boxing world champion, current Bellator flyweight to my far right, and of course to my right, our co-host for the day, Enson Inoue, MMA pioneer and legend, and also the creator of these fabulous bracelets that we always get complimented for.
All right.
Destiny Forever in the house.
All right.
What's up, everybody? How you doing?
Good.
Yeah?
Good. Yeah.
All right.
Excited.
Yeah, there's lots to talk about, and we got to muscle through it because we have a lot of guests. And, you know, Hal from Chicago was telling me what you got going on Saturday, and I go, bro, it doesn't get any better. There's the end of college football. You have college basketball, We have a UFC event, with Cub Swanson and Brian Ortega. That's happening. It's Bellator tonight. There's boxing. Vasily Lomachenko against Rigondeaux. What's his first name?
Guillermo
Rigondeaux from Cuba. And that's a special fight because it's the first time that multiple gold medalists have fought each other. So 2 gold medalists have fought each other, but they've won 2 gold medals each. And they'll be fighting each other, and they're also pound for pound top 10, arguably top 5 fighters. Many have Lomachenko as number 1, but Rigondeaux definitely is up there. Now Rigondeaux is moving up to make this happen, but that's what a super fight is. So there's that, and it's on ESPN too. ESPN and ESPN Deportes. So it's not like you're shoveling out another $60. So there's really, really a lot going on this weekend. It's going to be fun times. So we'll talk a little bit of boxing with Anna. We'll talk about the latest going on with Enson Inoue, including these bracelets that I get complimented on left and right.
All right.
I was visiting the troops this past weekend in Virginia. I got a lot of compliments.
Right.
Men and women just like, how'd I get my hands on it? So I'm writing down. You
All
have to leave like a stack of little glossies or something, But I always point to the Destiny Forever website.
Yeah.
And I mentioned that you handcraft them yourself.
Yeah.
So very huge. Thank you again.
All right.
Yeah, it's been great. Have you been seeing all that love you get from the MMA world?
Have we? She helps with all the administration, yeah.
Okay, so you only pop on Facebook once a year is what you're telling me?
No.
Yeah?
She does all the emails like that.
All right, so we also have a couple Bellator fighters and a Victory Fighting Championship fighter. So one thing I want to get into, and then we'll talk some boxing, is GSP, George St. Pierre, one of the greatest to ever do it in mixed martial arts. He vacated his title yesterday. He's no longer the UFC middleweight champ. He said, I don't want this. We don't know what's next for him. I imagine if he keeps fighting, it'll be welterweight. I imagine he'll have to smooth things over with a pissed-off Dana White, because Dana White told us he'd be pissed off if he did it. But immediately the UFC responds and says, Robert Whittaker versus Luke Rockhold, UFC 221? What is it? It's the one in Australia, right?
Yeah. 220
in Perth, Australia. Yeah. So that's your main event, and I imagine Whittaker's, he's they're not fighting for a title. I imagine he gets elevated, right?
Yeah, as long as hopefully.
I was trying to look into that this morning.
Yeah, I gotta imagine they'll be sending some new paperwork his way, maybe too, for some. I don't know. I mean, hopefully, as an interim, hopefully they're taking care of him anyways. But yeah, I imagine some things change behind the scenes. But yeah,
did that shock you at all?
No, I don't think people, who were following that storyline at least were too shocked.
I wasn't shocked either.
Maybe the timing shocked them. I don't know. Did you think it was gonna happen so fast, Gigi?
No, that's the one thing I will give GSP.
Yeah,
is that at least he handled his business and he's not leaving everyone hanging. Conor kind of went a few months before he said, I want to be a dad. I might want to box, and in the end, it was a little bit of a struggle. You're leaving a lot of people hanging. Yep. You know what I mean? And now at least we have 2 middleweights that can already compete to see who's the best in February.
100%.
So did it shock me? It didn't even shock me. And here's the thing I was thinking about on the way here. Dana White told us he'd be pissed if that happened. But how many fighters have been pissed when he's promised shots and they go in another direction? See what I'm saying? So it's kind of like, get over it. And I think he will, honestly, because that's just the business. He's been in it for a long time. What do you think, Enson, of GSP's greatness, what he did about a month ago, and now the fact that he doesn't want to mess with the bigger guys?
Well, I think GSP's more of going to a sport aspect of his career. Mm-hmm. I mean, as a martial artist, I don't think that's something that a martial artist would do. I'm actually wondering if the reason why he took that fight was because he felt he could beat Michael Bisping.
Yes, that's what many believe. That Bisping was easier to beat than Woodley, even though he was the higher weight class.
Yeah, and I think he knows, like, against someone like Rockhold, that he probably wouldn't have a chance. So he vacated it because of that. For me, that's what I'm thinking, and for me, it would be a little disappointing for the GSP that I knew, that for him to have done something, coming up, and as a martial artist, you fight fights whether you think you can win or lose. But it seems like he's moving into more the sporty trend right now, where they're fighting fights that they think they can win and get a title, and maybe he wants to leave his legacy like that, where he got the title in that weight class and then do something else. But
as a fellow MMA fighter, what do you think of the news?
I think it's exciting. I think it put a lot of perspective for a lot of other fighters to think more of the business aspect of it, because that's part of it. If you want to make it into a living, you have to put yourself in a position that's gonna pay the bills and put food on the table and things like that. So it's a dichotomy of the two. You want to be a phenomenal martial artist. You want to be a phenomenal fighter, but at the same time too, you have to understand the business aspect too. So it's almost like moonlighting. You know what I mean? Or you have to be a pure entertainer, and I believe that's what the business is all about. So for GSP to take a stand like that, it's going to highlight not only his company but also himself. But I think what will also get more compelled is if you have all these other organizations. I mean, you were just talking about a couple of other MMA organizations right now that I haven't even heard of, and it reminds me, it's so reminiscent of boxing because there's so many different promoters, and in order for us to make money, you have to make these marquee matchups. So it would be nice to see someone like a GSP who's giving himself a lot of leverage in an organization that try to, control a lot of the fighters, a lot of the athletes. And for him to possibly do a co-promotion with another MMA fighter from a different organization, they make even more money, And so with stuff like that, it excites me. MMA is still a young sport. If you were to compare it to something like boxing, it's been around for like over 100 years and things like that. It's nice to see, for me at least, I can see the blueprint of boxing and kind of compare it to how MMA is developing and progressing, and kind of see, the thread of continuity and what things are similar and what's not. So yeah. I'm excited about the whole thing.
On the one hand, you want to say, well, he challenged himself by going up. But like Enson noted, I think a lot of people saw through that a little bit and said, well, that matchup's a little bit probably more favorable just because he loves to get the fights to the ground. And I would say of the two, Bisping's tougher to get to the ground because Woodley comes from a wrestling background, But either way, he went in there, he did his job after 4 years, which was pretty amazing. You got to give him that one, right?
Yeah, for sure.
After 4 years, he went in there, and now he's saying, he's battling ulcerative colitis, I believe. So he wasn't in any hurry. It doesn't appear that he was going to defend anytime soon, but that's vacated, and now they just move on. It's Whitaker versus Rockhold. Done. Sealed. Gastelum wanted to throw his name in the hat, but that loss to Weidman in the summer hurt, even though he beat Bisping a few weeks ago. That other loss hurt. The others in contention were maybe Brunson, but even he had a loss earlier this year. So the one thing that helped Rockhold was kind of like not fighting for a year and a half, and when he fought, he made the best of it when he beat David Branch.
He finally gets his shot.
And he gets a shot to get his title back in Australia. All right.
He's been waiting for so long.
So talking about the boxing, I mean, you must be jazzed. You know what I mean? Because Lomachenko is as good as it gets in terms of the purity of boxing. The Ukrainian is 9-1 overall, I believe, and I mean he's just the talk of the town.
Yeah.
He's a big fan of MMA as well, and now he's fighting another 2-time gold medalist. Talk about that matchup, Anna.
Oh, I mean, it's so compelling in terms of, I mean, technically, what can anyone really say? They've had experiences that commentators, fans, or even fighters can't even comprehend. You know what I mean? And so, for me, what I'm looking forward into this matchup is, I'm going to take a quote off of my boxing promoter, Alan Tremblay, Hall of Famer. He would say, in the fight game, it's not a sprint, it's a marathon. And so when I look at these two fighters, they've been dedicating their whole entire lives into something like this, and to actually want it, to be the best. And this is what draws me a little bit more to Rigondeaux, because he's calling out Lomachenko despite all the odds that are against him. He's a smaller guy, he's the older guy, and he's also talking about the politics, being against him in this particular fight. And for him to dare to be great and daring Lomachenko to be great, for me as a fighter, that's something that I'm really excited about, and that's something that I feel like it's like a once in a lifetime opportunity to even see two warriors go at it like that, on the battles where if you're going to dedicate your life and you're going to say, hey, I wake up every day and I'm going to be the best boxer in the entire world. This is my craft. This is who I am. This is your identity, and you're putting that on a pedestal where the whole world's going to criticize you, and you're going to expose yourself, and you dare to even just go there. And so for me, it's amazing. Rigondeaux is from a different generation. He won his gold medals in 2000, 2004. Lomachenko, he's more of the newer age. He won his gold medals in 2008 and 2012. So it's interesting to see what these two fighters are going to look at. If you look at their bodies, oh my gosh, for 37 years old, Guillermo Rigondeaux looks like he's in his 20s. I mean, have you seen this guy? And he has no fear. I mean, on his last fight, he fought a guy who was taller than him, who has a huge size advantage over him, and he took him out in the first round. I mean, this guy's a sharpshooter. Like, when I heard Freddie Roach, he said that he wouldn't be surprised if he saw Guillermo Rigondeaux actually knock out Lomachenko. I'm like, wait a minute. Well, hold up. Well, like, Freddie, what are you talking about? Lomachenko's a bigger guy. He's super athletic. I mean, he's so phenomenal that. Did you see a clip of him? There's a clip of Lomachenko where he's playing a two-person sport by himself. Like, he's in a tennis court or something like that, and he like rallies and hits the ball, and he runs over to the other side, and he actually hits the ball back, and he's lobbying,
Well, since he was a kid, he was taught to basically have hand coordination with both hands. Like, that was pre-planned by his father, and so I believe he was born a southpaw, but learned how to fight orthodox. I mean, right off the bat. So he's very comfortable, and not shocking one bit that he has those types of abilities. Now he's more of a forward presser guy versus Rigondeaux's more of the counter guy. Is Rigondeaux's style, you think, gonna work versus Lomachenko, or is there gonna be times where he's gonna have to take it to him?
It's so hard to say.
Not get worn down by someone that's 2 divisions higher than him.
I mean, like I said, technically, what can you really say about these two guys? I mean, they're untouchable. You know what I mean? Like, who can really like stay on that level and say, oh, I know exactly what this guy's gonna do, or this is how you're gonna defeat this guy? Because in reality, pound for pound, like, who has beaten these guys like legitimately? You know what I mean? Sure, Lomachenko lost to Orlando Salido, but I feel like that was more of him.
Like his second fight or something.
Yeah,
right?
in the second fight, a 12-round fight. Who does that? Who goes
split decision too? It was close.
And so, and it's just, for me, I really feel like it's just more on the mental side of it. Where are they at the stage of their life? Are they too comfortable with where they have and for everything that they've accomplished in the ring and for all the successes that they have? Are they just going to stick to that, or are they actually going to, step out of their reality and actually look at the drawing board and say, hey, here's all the little things that everyone overlooks when they look at Guillermo Rigondeaux, or here's all the little things that they look at when they fight Lomachenko. And for something like that, it's not just one individual. You have to have a network of your team who's also on the same page, and someone that you can talk to about that too. You know what I mean? So every moment right now, they're calculating. And how much calculation do you put into that, and how much energy do you expose yourself into that? And by the time you go into the fight, how much energy do you still have in order for you to perform at your best? So it's like walking down a tightrope while juggling and on a unicycle. There's so many things going on, and so this is what excites me, and this is why I get pumped up with. I'm going to be, even if they're not going to throw any punches, because they're lobbying for a position. That right there, like one little mistake, it could be the end of it, Yeah. But for me, it's exciting. I could see it going one or two ways. It reminds me of, like, if you were to talk about two samurai warriors, you're about to get into a duel. It could go one or two ways. This is where, as soon as they draw their swords, clack, you go right at it. Or they had to draw out their swords and they look, and they wait and they wait and they wait until someone makes a mistake. So it can go really fast, or it can be a drawn out fight. And so for me, I'm looking at these guys, the two spectacles at the highest. At the highest of the high,
right?
And they're going to decide, they're going to dictate what's going to happen, and that's what draws me. You
still got that passion for the sweet science, don't you?
I love this breakdown she's doing, because it says it perfectly. The dichotomy. You used that word earlier for what we were talking about with the GSP news. This ties in perfectly. Your breakdown is passionate, yes, but it's spot on, because it's two masters, and I love the samurai analogy, and I'm sure Enson's with you on that one as well, because it is true, and I think that's the balance you have to find, right? You want the spectacle, we want business, we want all the fighters to get paid and taken care of course, yes. But also, if you can maintain the honor and that firmness as your base to build upon,
hard to do.
It's very hard to do in this age, which was why I was really excited as well to hear. Enson's opinion on the matter as well, coming from the traditional martial arts. Now, you know, I never stepped into the cage as a professional or anything like that, but it came up in traditional martial arts. So to hear Enson in previous interviews on here, George, the reverence he speaks of, I totally get that. So I like that we're talking about this balance right now.
Are you? Where does boxing sit with you as far as coming up through martial arts, competing in MMA? Did you still branch out and not participate professionally, but at least find a love for wrestling, boxing, you know, individually, like the sport individually?
Well, before I started even fighting, I used to love boxing. I think when I lived in Hawaii, there was like Tuesday night fights. I used to follow them all, tape them all. I loved it. You know, that was back in the day with Tapia and back in the day.
Real deal,
you know?
yeah.
So
the kid from New Mexico, Johnny Tapia?
Yeah.
So that was I used to love boxing, and then when I went into MMA, I started off with the ground, so the jiu-jitsu. And I felt boxing had the best hands, of course. But I felt what I wanted to ask you too is the transition, you know, as a boxer, because when you add in the kicks, you know, when we used to do sparring, we used to always, Dennis Alexio, before he used to be one of the kickboxing champions. Yeah. I used to spar with him, so we used to go a couple rounds with just hands, and then the whole dynamics just change when you add in kicks. It's like,
yes.
I mean, how for you as a boxer, is it hard to actually use your boxing skills because the distance changes with the kicks and the?
Yeah, in my opinion, you can't go into MMA with just pure boxing. It's too predictable. And
I mean, are you able to use your boxing? Because a lot of times I see these boxers go in and they're really good boxers, but they can't display the punching that they have because of the little bit of change of the distance with the kicks and the.
Yeah, no, 100%. I mean, the kicking lineup is completely different, and so. Like, I think MMA at the highest level, like, you have to be so educated, and your fight IQ has to be so high that you have to stand in. Because, like, when I look at it like I do in boxing, where if I think of Lomachenko and Rigondeaux, they're gonna as soon as they get into that first stance, they already know what strikes are gonna come out, what punches are gonna come out because of the stance. You know, the same thing with the kicks. You can already tell if they're gonna use their front leg or their back leg, if they're gonna spin or whatever, all from the stance. So I feel like with the ultimate MMA fighter, they're able to read and register that and be at a point where they can actually hide their stance if they're going to be, if for instance they want to like throw punches, they're in a kicking stance, but it's like, how can you read that? You know what I mean? But it's anyway, that's a whole nother a whole nother thing to get into, but yeah, I it's for me, at least for right now where I'm at, and it's fun for me to talk to another martial artist because I feel like there's certain things that I can talk about and we can connect. We can, there's a certain understanding, like, that whole idea with Bruce Lee, emptying your cup. And so I think a lot of that is where if you're so one way in one style, whether it's boxing or wrestling or Muay Thai and things like that, you live and die with that style. But to expand your IQ and be open to all the other styles, see the greatness and all the weaknesses in all the other styles. Like, you have to let yourself go just a little bit. You have to, for everything that you hold on to, you have to, like, let it go just so you can open up and branch out, and it's that phase in there, the uncertainty, that I think where a lot of people get, they become fearful of, they don't want to move into that. And even if they do, and because MMA, like, I feel like every fight that you go in there, it's almost like a title fight. You got to be ready. You got to be ready to go. You have to be on your A game with your defenses, your offenses, your stand-up, your ground game, etc., and things like that. You know what I mean? Because it's unlike in boxing or unlike in jiu-jitsu or any of the other, or even in taekwondo and any of these styles, it's like, you already know what's in front of you. Versus in MMA, you really don't. If you're gonna fight like the highest of the high in against an opponent who's in jiu-jitsu, there's not things that you're gonna see that person do who spent their entire life in jiu-jitsu in a regular MMA gym. You know what I mean? Same thing with boxing. People will say, "Oh, I practice boxing. I go to the Mayweather gym. I go down to Wild Card." There's certain things that you just have to be in the sport for a good length of time to even understand.
You have to put in at least 10,000 hours.
Yes,
and you just don't have enough time in the day to do that as a mixed martial artist.
Yeah.
So hopefully you do have some sort of a background where one or two of these things are established. Like, for example, yourself, a lot of people don't know, I always introduce you as former boxing champion, but you have a black belt, right, in Taekwondo? Brown belt?
Black belt in Taekwondo, black belt in Kempo Karate.
Yeah, so You know what I mean? You've put in a lot of hours to become a master, and of course, you know, still blending it in your mixed martial arts career. And I do want to ask you, speaking of that, what is next for you? I think there's always been this parallel with you and Heather Hardy, another former boxer.
Yeah.
You guys were on the same card, so hopefully if your health is the same, the timeline works.
Yeah.
Is that who you may fight next?
You know, there's a possibility in that. Obviously, there's something that I've been talking about. My boxing promoter, Alan Tremblay, talked with her boxing promoter and Lou DiBella, and they did a conference call and everything like that. Everything's good to go. And so, in terms of
for boxing,
for us fighting, whether it's
MMA
in the
or
cage
boxing,
or in boxing. And
which one's closer?
I don't. You know, I'm open for both. For me, I can go either way.
Which one do you want more?
Let's see. I would probably pick MMA.
MMA, okay.
Which one would pay more?
That's a great question because the business aspect is so different. You know what I mean? Like the way that I did business in boxing when I was holding the titles and stuff, that is a completely different format than me working with Bellator. You know, in terms of the sponsorship, the TV deals and stuff like that, versus like in boxing, like I had the options to go from one company to another company, from one network to another network, to like massive networks. You know, so the business aspect is a little bit different, and so I'm just waiting, and just like in any business that you do, there's so many moving parts to it that you have to wait for everything to align in order for things to just sink in and say, yeah, let's go and go gung ho, let's go with this deal.
Frank Mir's a training partner of yours, right?
Yes.
He's starting off that tournament, the big tournament they have.
Yeah.
Might as well line up the camp at the same time, right? Can't you get on that card?
I mean, I can, but personally, I wouldn't want to do that, mainly because like I know how it is to be a fighter where you have a lot of attention and you.
Oh, you don't spread Angelo and split him into two.
Yeah, 100%.
Gotcha.
And I don't want to get into like Frank's mojo, and I don't want him to run into my mojo, because I have to be the A, I have to be the alpha, and when he fights, he has to be the A, he has to be the alpha. You know what I mean? And it's not like I can have like I mean. I don't know. Like it reminds me of like Wild Card, where and it's interesting for me to see how the fight game has changed so much. Because I remember in Wild Card there were so many A-listers under the same roof, fighting, but they're all from different organizations. You know what I mean? Versus like right now, everyone's kind of split into like different camps. It's a little bit more intimate, whereas like the focus is just solely on you. And so, it's interesting.
What weight class would you be in?
I have to be 125. It's not like in boxing where we have like 20 different weight classes.
Is that Lena girl?
She's 125.
She's smaller.
I'll give. Okay, so where Ronda and Misha fought?
Yeah.
That's 35.
Okay. So
and the Polish girl that just lost.
Rising, how they have.
Well, yeah, you remember Megumi Fujii?
Yeah.
She fought at 15. Oh, sorry, 115.
Oh, wow.
So actually, Anna fights right in between where Ronda fought and Megumi fought.
Yeah, it's a new division for MMA, or women's MMA. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
And this is where I say it's such a young sport.
You good on time?
I'm great on time.
All right.
Are you ready to kick me out?
Not yet. I was, but this was so much fun. Well, but meaning the time allotted. We got to take a break. That's what we got to do. And then when we come back, we have to get one of our interviews out of the way. But I see a pocket towards the end where we can maybe shore a few things up and just be clear on what you're doing with Bellator and what you want with Bellator. Also, give us your final prediction on Rigondeaux versus Lomachenko. So if you're good on time, then
yeah,
we'll extend the contract. All right, Angela and I will work out the contract details. All right, you're listening to MMA Junkie Radio on SiriusXM Rush 93. We have former professional boxing champion Anna Julaton here in studio with us, and MMA legend and pioneer of the sport, Enson Inoue. He's fought in Pride. He's fought in the UFC. He's also one hell of a racquetball player and a great designer of these bracelets that you can find on the Destiny Forever website. I'm sporting them. You guys have seen them. You guys give me compliments. Check them out while we're on the break. We'll be right back.
charm, compassion, common sense. These guys have none of that. You listen to them, so you're no better. I am awesome, though. They are Gorgeous George and Goes.
SiriusXM wants you to turn on the joy this holiday season with your chance to win a trip to one of 4 All-Star sporting experiences. The 2018 Pro Bowl in Orlando, the Honda NHL All-Star Game in Tampa, the NBA All-Star Game in Los Angeles, or the MLB All-Star Game in our nation's capital. For official rules and to enter, go to SiriusXM.com/All-Star-Trip. Do that before January 2nd, 2018. No additional purchase is necessary to enter or win. The sweepstakes is not sponsored, administered, produced, or executed by either the NHL entities, NBA entities, MLB entities, or the NFL entities. All right, continuing on here, our panel, Anna Julaton, former boxing world champion, current Bellator flyweight, and Enson Inoue, MMA legend. He's one of the pioneers of our sport. And we are going to now welcome Raufeon Stots, who's going to be fighting at Ring of Combat, Victory FC 59, Stotts versus Bourdon. That's Arnold Bourdon, who brings a, 8-1 record, along with Raufeon Stots' 8-1 record. This is a powerful main event at VFC 59. It takes place next Saturday, and you can catch the fights on the UFC Fight Pass. Raufeon Stots, how you doing, sir?
Doing pretty good, man. How you doing?
Good, my man. Welcome back to MMA Junkie Radio. Good to have you back. Excited to talk to you about your fight coming up here against Arnold Bourdon. And, of course, the UFC Fight Pass is where we can catch your fight. Now, usually, my man, we've been talking to you about, recovering from recent wins. You, however, experienced your first loss in your career. How is that? How did you take that first loss in your career? Was it something difficult to get over before you started focusing on your next fight?
It was tough. It was tough to take it, but I learned a lot of lessons, and I learned even though it was a short fight, I learned a lot of lessons. I came out, a better person and a fighter because of it. So I'm just gonna. You want to learn from your mistakes, so I'm coming out, showing, coming out to this fight, make sure I'm showing everybody that I'm still relevant, I'm still a threat, and I'm still dangerous, and if anything, I got better from that loss. So that's what I'm coming out to prove, and I feel like that's what I was kind of missing that last. I kind of underestimated that the guy that I fought, right. And I wasn't out to prove that I was as good as they say, and I paid for it. I learned that lesson quick.
So it was more than anything, I guess, a humbling experience. Just knowing there's others just like yourself, hungry to get after it.
For sure.
That's the thing about mixed martial arts, right, Enson? Yeah. That first loss is quite humbling.
Yes, it is.
And it's unlike boxing, and boxing, your first loss may not come into your 20s or 30s, but in MMA it can come a lot sooner. Yeah, it definitely is a learning experience for you. And but it sounds, I'm not seeing you in person, but I'm hearing your voice, and it sounds like you're at peace with it, and now just laser focus for the next one.
Yeah, I'm definitely at peace with it, and what I did want to do was to, say, oh man, that was a lucky shot, or that was, something that, I had to address it. I gotta, accept that it happened, and I gotta learn from it. I gotta grow from it. If I'm not, going or getting better, then I'm getting worse. So that's kind of how I look at it, and that's kind of how my coaches wanted me to approach it too. So yeah, I'm looking forward to this fight next Saturday. So. It should be a good one.
Perfect attitude to get better, man.
Yeah.
That's so perfect.
Exactly.
Yeah.
My brother has this big, he hates it when people say the best thing that could have ever happened to me was a loss. Because he says, no, it isn't. The best thing would have been if you won. But what he doesn't understand is, at some point in the sport, you're kind of bound to lose. So maybe you just take that learning lesson earlier in your career versus later when the stakes are higher, the money is better, and the fall from grace. Look at what it did to Ronda Rousey, right? Her first loss was devastating.
Yeah,
devastating. Yeah, so sometimes you almost has to hit you at the right time. Yeah, good way of putting it. Yeah. So, like I say, a lot of people react from it differently, and it sounds like you're in a good place. All right, our guest again, Raufeon Stots, 8-1 overall, fighting Arnold Bourdon at VFC 59, which takes place next Saturday, right in between the holidays, man. Are you, you know, turkey and stuffing and gravy and then, of course, ham and everything else that comes with the fixins, you know, a few weeks afterwards. Did this ruin your holidays, or could this be a great thing for your to lead into the at least the second big holiday of the year?
For me, this was pretty awesome. You know, I think last year I fought like day before Thanksgiving, and so I was like, oh yeah, this is definitely, you know, where I want to fight. But this year I was able to I just cut down a little bit. I still was able to have. I was still like a couple weeks out from my fight, so I was able to have like a sample of everything that was going on during Thanksgiving, as long as I didn't get too crazy. And then to top it all off, this fight is on my birthday. Like, my birthday is the day that I'm fighting. So it's going to be a hell of a way to end the year for me. So I'm excited.
So you're within 10 days of Christmas. So you one of those people that qualifies for, here's your gift for your birthday and Christmas. where people try and double up.
Definitely. My whole life, Christmas, especially in my family. I mean, it was all one celebration, you know. So I'm kind of used to it. But it's funny too, because I recently got married, and we got married on like our anniversary was this Sunday.
Oh,
and my wife's birthday is my wife's birthday is on the 4th. So everything we got coming up is in December. Like we're all just, it's just gonna be one big celebration, pretty much.
There you have it. All right, Dan, Tom, what do you have for Raufeon Stots?
Man, Raufeon, you know, it's impressive. You want to talk about experiences? You've had a lot of good experiences for being a young fighter. You've got 2 victories over UFC vets already with, Rob Emerson and Jeff Curran. But let me ask you, you train at Rufus Sports, so you're training with talented guys who are on and off the UFC radar. Can you speak on how much that's helpful to you?
Man, I can't say enough positive things about the guys that I'm working out with at Rufus Sport. I believe I'm a product of my environment, and I'm only as good as, you know, or they put so much into me. I feel like it's hard for me to take all the credit, you know, or a lot of the credit for the stuff that I've accomplished. I've been just really blessed with the teammates that we have there, and the coaching staff, you know, and even the class atmosphere, like the day-to-day got people that go to work, you know, and just come in for class. The level of the competition and team attitude there is awesome, man. I can't say enough nice things about. You know, I'm working out with Anthony Pettis, Sergio Pettis, Eric Koch, a lot of top 10 guys, Paul Felder, you know, and we also got like Chico Camus, who's fighting for the LFA title the day before me. Man, we just got a lot of talent and a lot of freaking, you know, family, like the attitude, the vibe in there. It's like we're beating the crap out of each other to make each other better, you know, and it gets no better than that, you know.
Well, I'm glad you brought that up, because my last question for you was about a friend of the show, Paul Felder. Does he still have a room there that he's fending people off from, or what's that situation like?
Yeah, he has a room there, or at Rufus, where he comes and he stays at the gym, you know. So he got a. Well, we make fun or make light of the situation. He got a car. He's moving up in the world. He got a rental car this last time, you know. Oh. But no, that dude is a beast, and you know, it's just a testament. Like his performances are just a testament to how hard he works and the sacrifices he makes. Like he's got his daughter back home, you know, his family, the luxuries of a home, and the room is literally, it's so small, you know, and he's got people, you know, coming in working out all day, and you know, he's right along with them. So, you know,
Paul Felder's win was one of the best of the year, man. So yeah, Dan and I went on a trip with him to Virginia to visit the troops, and coincidentally, when we went back, we got to see Paul Felder fight, and a lot of them remembered Paul, so you don't know how loud everybody was cheering for him. And, you know, look, keeping it real, Raufeon, Paul's, you know, he comes from a striking background, so obviously the strikers, they start to pick up the grappling world a little bit slower, you know, than maybe someone that comes from the wrestling. I thought his goose was cooked. You know, when Oliveira was applying all those darces,
Man,
and then of course Rogan's not helping matters. Rogan's like, it's getting tighter, it's getting tighter. His head's gonna blow up, you know. And I was like, no, come on, Paul, you can do it. And at first I thought he was out toughing him, but if you watch the replay, he actually put his body in proper places to defend. You know, yeah,
yeah, and that's
what a great fight.
Everybody thinks too at Rufus Sport that we're just or that's, I mean, it's a striking gym, but in actuality, man, we got one of the best freaking BJJ, like for MMA coaches, probably in the game, Daniel Wanderlei, and he keeps us prepared. You know, we're doing gi classes and grappling classes, and he's one of those guys that comes, like most strikers when they come to Rufus Sport, they only want to do the striking, and they only, you know, they'll do the grappling, but it's, you know, it's kind of like if it's mandatory doing grappling. But he's in the gi classes, he's in the no gi classes. You know, he's a real student of the game, and it shows. That dude's a freaking beast.
Yeah, it was a great comeback, man.
Yeah, it was awesome.
Raytheon, when the interview's over, when the show's over, I'm just going to send you this quick little 15-minute video via text, and you can see the troops' reaction to Paul. I already sent it to Paul, but I think you'll like it. It'll inspire you.
Yeah, I love it.
Yeah. All right, my man. Listen, it's always great to catch up with you. You know, good luck on next Saturday. The fights just keep getting tougher and tougher, you know, and you know this, but you keep getting better and better. So stay positive and get back in that win column.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
All right. Thanks for the time.
All right. No problem.
All right. See ya. Big shout out to Scott Zer for lining that one up. Raufeon Stots. Really, really exciting fight. You've never seen him fight, man. He, even though he experienced his first loss, he's working off a loss. He's got a lot of skills. All right. So, Enson, you were telling me, I imagine that you're doing a little bit of MMA coaching. If this young lady over here is fighting, I don't think you were in the stands. You must have been experiencing the coaching world.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you hadn't done that in years, probably since your brother, maybe, or what?
Yeah, I actually broke away from it. I guess from my whole career, got really burnt out on it.
Yeah.
I have gyms, but I have my students teaching the gyms, and I would pop in every so often and watch the class or maybe teach us something here and there. But yeah, when she got into it, then it was one of the few times I actually got back into the hands-on training. And
you liking it again?
Yeah, learning a lot.
Found a new love?
There's a lot of changes in a lot of techniques they use. So learning a lot from that. So
is it a steep learning curve? Do you think it'll take you a while to catch up to the way the sport's evolved, or
no? I think because of the base that I have, it's just little adjustments here and there, and it's real interesting. I mean, there's a lot of evolvement that I'm starting to learn. It's really interesting. Yeah.
Very cool. All right, well, we'll be talking to her in the second hour. Yeah. How's Destiny Forever doing? Like, I really do see more and more, whether it's advertisements or just people talking about it, you know, or at least when I tell them where I get mine, they go, "Oh yeah, I've seen that." Whereas before they were like, "Really, I didn't know he was doing it." Well, catching fire a little?
It's starting to pick up, yeah.
Okay.
Starting to pick up. I think
that's badass right there. I like the green.
I think a lot of people are starting to understand the properties, and it's not just a really nice bracelet. It actually has properties, and we're getting good results on the properties. You know, for people to relax, people to calm down, for joint pains, and so it's really picking up now. I'm actually here on the way to Hawaii to do a little 2-week stint where I
Where were you coming from?
I'm from Japan.
You went Japan?
Yeah, I went to Japan. Just stopped a day. I mean, literally not even a day in Hawaii, and then jumping on a plane to come here.
Is this a vacation?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna say Japan to LA to Hawaii.
Japan,
that confused me a little bit.
Hawaii.
Okay.
This
is just a vacation to hang out and and gamble.
My parents are here too, so we're just gonna
gamble,
out.
Right?
Yeah, gamble, win some money.
But Hawaiians don't gamble, right? Name one Hawaiian that doesn't gamble.
Go to California or Fremont. There's all Hawaiians in there.
Yeah. What game do you like to play the most?
I like the table games.
The tables.
But the machines always pull you to it. But the money disappears so fast. I lost like $200 walking here.
So much. What's that one called, by the way?
This one actually I made for Vegas. It's
you?
Aventurine and Tourmaline. It's supposed to be good for gambling.
Oh,
so far, I guess if I didn't have this, I would have lost $500 on the way. So actually working.
There you go.
We're looking at it. All right, I like that. For some reason, that green's just popping.
Is that on the website already? Guatemala. Yeah, these are on the website. But this is from Guatemala. This is jade that when I went to do a seminar in Guatemala, they took me to a place where they had jade. And Guatemala has, besides Miramar, has one of the best grade A jades in the world. I thought it was China, but Guatemala. So this green jade is from Guatemala.
Very cool.
I want to have Enson judge my jade here before he leaves here. Okay. Give him a look there. That's awesome, man.
Where are you watching the fight? The Lomachenko fight?
I'm gonna get on the internet.
Oh yeah. Where are you staying, by the way?
At the Orleans.
At the Orleans.
Yeah, I like the Orleans.
I'm gonna be here tomorrow and watching the fight. So if you want to.
Oh, where here?
Yeah. We're either gonna put it on here or I'm just gonna watch it there, depending on what the deal is. Yeah. Okay. You guys want to come by or whatever?
Okay. Let's see what I
have this knee injury, and I'm just now starting to get out, and I'm feeling good about getting out. So I could just watch it at home, but I've been at home too much, so I want to just get out a little bit and enjoy the fights.
What time does the fight
Yesterday
start?
I went to physical therapy, and even though the chick beats me up, man, I felt a little swag in my step when I was rolling up. What was your question?
What time does the fight start? 3 o'clock.
Well, that's the MMA fights, but the boxing will probably be about 7.
Oh, yeah, they have the
on
duel,
ESPN. Yeah, so there's a lot to watch in combat sports. But the invite's there if you
I'll
are
see
looking for a spot. Yeah. So give me your prediction on Rigondeaux and Lomachenko.
I mean, it's so hard. It's so like I'd say.
Oh yeah, it is hard. But let me pay you this compliment first. When you were breaking down the boxing, I wanted to jump in there and say you need to get on some sort of a TV network and be an analyst. You know,
I appreciate
especially
that,
because a lot of females are starting to now, make their way into sports. You see them, of course, as sideline reporters in football, but now their roles are growing. Like Joseph Benavidez was here yesterday.
Okay.
And his wife is Megan O'Leary. She's now going to be doing the desk. Now I'm not sure if she's just if Karen Bryant's taking the night off, or if they're trying to move more of them in there. But again, that's a lead role as a host, so she's going to be doing that. And like I say, in football, not only are they sideline reporters, they're now anchoring desks. So I'm seeing more of that. And when you got going with the boxing, it was really, really solid. Now, I wouldn't even say, oh, well, only when females fight. No, nothing like that. I mean, really, hopefully someday you work at that and maybe
I appreciate that.
I
definitely got to give a lot of credit to Angela Reyes, man.
Who's Angela? Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah.
I remember back in the day, like when I was an amateur, like I watched zero boxing. The only time I watched boxing is when my grandpa was alive and he would watch Tapia, and that was my Tapia. Or
have you ever seen the ESPN
Tyson
special on Tapia?
I'm
not sure if it's 30 for 30.
But I read his book, but I'll check it out.
Check it out.
And oh my gosh, it's like, okay, you know that movie Matrix where Neo goes into the chair and they start zapping in all that information in his head? That's what I felt like Angelo was doing with me. He was having me watch all of De La Hoya's fight, all of Miguel Cotto's fight, all of Floyd Mayweather's fights, all of Manny Pacquiao's fights, all of Roy Jones's fight. And it was crazy because I couldn't just watch a fight. I have to watch their beginnings, like how they were built up from the amateurs. I have to understand their story, and I'm like, oh my gosh, it's like I thought I could just jump into the ring and just do my thing and call it a day, but no. I hated it because I didn't understand what I was watching.
So Angela made you a historian.
I would definitely say that in combat sports, you're a reflection of the people around you. So yeah, I got to give a big shout out because I wouldn't appreciate what I appreciate now. I wouldn't have the love for the sport if I didn't have those moments. Oh my gosh, I didn't realize how much. That's what
Customano did with Tyson.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Tyson's
exactly.
expert in boxing, like the history of boxing.
Went through the whole.
I mean, go all the back to the
he watched
the rules. Yeah. And he'll quote you the rules, and he knows what's up when it comes to that.
Yeah,
and he'll check you quick if you're off. All right, so this is my setup. See that compliment came?
Now you want a prediction.
I need the prediction because an analyst is going to do the job. Is going to there is none of this like, well, I don't know. So now you got to give us a prediction. You like that?
Yeah, I like that. That was
good. Did Angelo tell you about Chapter 8 when you encounter a jackass like George?
Oh my gosh. Man, you know, it's tough. It really depends on like what each fighter is going to do. Like Lomachenko, he's a phenomenal athlete, and I think he needs to really utilize that against someone like Rigondeaux, because Rigondeaux, for someone who's 37 years old and is undefeated as a pro, and you know has a tremendous like amateur background. I mean, like you have to fight force with force. You know, I mean he has to go in there and he has to make Rigondeaux fight outside of his comfort zone. You know what I mean? And so how much of that is Rigondeaux really? I mean, Lomachenko really going to want to commit himself to? Because in my opinion, in that game, if you're going to be the one coming forward, if you're going to throw, you're also open to get countered on, and that's what Rigondeaux is tailored for. You know, he loves to counter. You can initiate the fight, you can start the fight will happen because of you, and Lomachenko may have a phenomenal 3-punch combination, but if it doesn't hit Rigondeaux like square, like 100%, where it's not going to drop Rigondeaux or give Rigondeaux like a mild concussion or something for him to think about, Rigondeaux could just within that exchange steal the whole thing with one punch.
So the prediction is.
So I mean, it's I know, right? I know it's really it's tough because it depends on like what these fighters are really willing to step into the ring with, and with me, it's so compelling because with all the hype up, with everything that's with everyone that's going in their ear and stuff like that, you know, how are they managing their mind? It's all going to dictate their decision making in the ring. You know, am I going to really just give it to them? But I don't know. Like last week, my wife was saying that she was complaining about this, or my kid went to the hospital and I had to deal with that. You know, there's a lot of personal things that mean.
Let me jump in. That was Danny telling me we got one last commercial, and that'll give you 2.5 minutes to marinate and give us that final decision. All right, you're listening to MMA Junkie Radio on Sirius XM, Rush 93. We'll be right back. All right, here we go. We are up against the clock, so I want to let you all know that Kate Jackson, Valerie Letourneau, Michael McDonald will be our guests in the second hour. We will have one more surprise guest as well that Enson Inoue has brought to the studio. But with 20 seconds ago, sorry, I took 10 up. Give us a prediction for Lomachenko and Rigondeaux and a Julaton.
man, it's so tough.
Is it going to be a draw? Whose hand's going to be raised?
In a perfect world, yeah, to have a rubber match, it'll do well for both fighters.
5 seconds. Give me a name.
Freaking A. Okay. I'm going to go on an emotional standpoint then.
We have to go. It's MMA Junkie Radio, Sirius XM Rush 93.
A fortune won and lost on an
right, here we go with the second hour of the MMA Junkie Radio Show. Big thanks to Anna Julaton for joining us in that first hour. Hopefully her and Heather Hardy gets made, and we can see it in 2018 at some point. Two former professional boxers getting down both in the Bellator cage and the squared circle. That would be a great year, I think, for both, and I'd love to see it. And, of course, speaking of boxing, this weekend we have a huge fight to close out what's been a huge year for boxing. Like it or not, McGregor Mayweather was big for boxing, but, you know, we had the big heavyweight fight out in Wembley. We had Andre Ward, who unfortunately retired, but what a career, right? Gold medalist, last American gold medalist, if I'm not mistaken. And he had a KO win over Sergey Kovalev. So, you know, like I said, big years. One of my favorite fighters, Terrence Crawford.
Pound for pound, man.
Excuse me?
This is pound for pound up there.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. So this is going to be a great way for boxing to end, to see two great pound for pound fighters box each other. The first time two multiple time gold medalists boxed each other.
Wow.
So, yeah. The Ukraine versus Cuba. All right, so now we're going to get going with our interviews for Bellator 191, which takes place in Newcastle, England. And that takes place next weekend, next Friday to be exact, at the Metro Radio Arena. Now, our first guest is Valerie Letourneau. She'll be fighting a guest of ours later in the show, Kate Jackson. So this will be interesting. And also sandwiched in between, we'll have Michael McDonald, who's featured in the main event. All right, joining us now is Valerie Letourneau. Hi, Valerie. How you doing?
Hi, guys. I'm good, thank you.
Awesome. Thanks for joining us here on MMA Junkie Radio. You're on with George and Dan. We also have MMA legend Enson Inoue here in studio with us. It's great to have you on the show. And I want to ask you, all right, you versus Kate Jackson, is this going to be a respect match, or is this going to be one of those where, you know, you've kind of not been a fan of hers, don't like her? Like, is there any heat in between you guys is what I'm asking?
Guys, you know I'm not like that.
Oh, okay.
This is never going to change. I've always been very, very professional. I respect, you know, pretty much every female fighters, and she's been there for a long time. To me, it's business. I'm going there to handle business, and I treat everybody the same way. I'm going there always very respectful and never underestimate anyone, and I'm going to do my thing.
Well, the one thing I've noticed is as women's MMA has continued to grow, a lot of times I would have never guessed two female fighters even knew each other, but it turns out they just, I guess everybody kind of, you know, scratching and clawing and getting to the top. You either fought a teammate or a rival gym or something like that, and so it's been surprising to me how much in times there's been a little bit of heat from the female athletes. But you're right, Valerie. Looking back, I've never really noticed that from you.
Happen, yeah.
Yeah, I've never really noticed that from your end.
I never had to fight a teammate. Hopefully this is never going to have to happen, but at the same time, it's such a small world, and I feel for me it's been so hard to get there. It's been so hard to make it work, and it's hard not to have respect for all the women that went through the same thing. Mm-hmm. So this is the way I'm seeing it.
So when you see, I mean, I think she's a teammate, but remember Joanna was, you know, she had some antics versus Rose, and I don't know if you saw the recent fight with Courtney Casey and Felice Herrig, and the blood booger, she called it, being flicked at her and the middle fingers.
Yeah.
Do you think that's a little bit of just maybe a little bit? What did you think of that? Is my question.
I mean, it's entertaining. It's just not me.
Yeah.
I always says you cannot. If you're doing this, it's yourself, and you feel comfortable in that, and then do it. But if you do it I cannot fake this. Yeah. I cannot fake it. If I don't like you, I don't like you. But even if I don't like you, I'm the kind of person who's just gonna walk away. I just don't give a. Excuse me. I don't give a fuck about you.
Right.
But you know, in another way, you know, if I respect you, I'm not gonna make it look like I don't. So I just cannot fake this. Some people are better at it, and I think it has to be a little bit of your personality already to be cocky, to be this kind of way. You know, I could never be a WWE wrestler. I just cannot fake, you know, make a show for this stuff. For me, I have too much respect for my sport, so I'm going there trying to be very professional. To me, it's technical. It's just like very, it's like playing golf. This is not about emotions or I want to hurt you. It's, you know, step 1, 2, 3, this is what I got to do, and that's the way I'm seeing it. But everybody's different. Mm-hmm. Some fighters, they go there like it becomes like a very personal thing, and this is what drives them. But I've never really been this way.
You get to fight in Newcastle, England. Do you like getting away from home, I guess, or near home? And in this case, now you're going overseas. But what do you like those types of fight bookings when they kind of send you somewhere else and you can just focus on the fight and get away from distractions?
Well, I definitely like to travel, but you know, I've never been to Europe. But I went through this when I went to Australia for my fight. I mean, it couldn't be any further going to Australia for a championship fight.
Right.
So I know what it is to fight outside, there's some positive, side of it. The other way is like you don't know anybody. Whatever you need, you don't know anyone to help you. But usually, these promotions have a really good team to help you get whatever you need for. And it's good sometimes not to have too many people that you know around. You really focus on your fight. You get in your little bubble. And I don't like to fight in my hometown. I'm going to be honest. To me, it's just more pressure. It's more stressful. And I know it pleased my people, but it's not that I don't like. It's just more stressful. It's more pressure. So it's good to fight, in another country, finally.
Valerie Letourneau, our guest here on MMA Junkie Radio. She will be getting down next weekend at Bellator 191 in Newcastle, England. Her opponent, Kate Jackson. All right, Dan Tom, what do you have for Valerie Letourneau?
Valerie, someone's been watching you fight for a while. I'm really excited just to see you at a division that obviously you more than anybody feel that you belong at. Now, for people that don't know, you were having to make crazy cuts down to 115. Can you just kind of tell us how you're feeling as of now heading into the camp for your? I know you already had a fight scheduled before the injury, but heading into your official first fight at flyweight for Bellator.
Man, I feel like I've been waiting for this forever. It's been a very long year of negotiating contract and training and training and training. Nothing was going on. So I'm very impatient. I cannot wait for this fight. And especially this week, when we cut weight, I'm just so grateful, so happy that I can finally fight at 125. And, I feel strong. I feel healthy. I'm still cutting weight, but in the normal way. It's just... so I can really focus on performing.
Well, that's perfect that you said that. And speaking of cutting weight, and speaking of your stablemates there, your teammates at American Top Team, on the news recently, Joanna Jędrzejczyk came out saying she had a very tough weight cut. And obviously, it's a problem that affects everybody in the sport. Do you, speaking to maybe her or other girls in the gym, do you have conversations about weight cutting? And do you try to mentor the girls into maybe not, hurting their bodies? How do those conversations go, Val?
Well, definitely we had that talk a lot with Joanna, especially even the week before the fight, just before she left, how much it hurt her body, how much it affected us, even sometimes a month and 2 months after the fight, we're still paying the price for these weight cuts. It's so hard to explain. There's so many steps that are... It's not healthy, but at the same time, this is what we had to do, and I'm still kind of impressed of how good, because she's pretty much cutting the same amount of weight. Her body works, we have different body, but it works pretty much the same. We start training, we gain weight because we put muscle on, and then everything is a struggle of not putting too much muscle, going down in weight, and performing. And she's been doing so great. She always had a really good cardio going through those 5-round fights, but these weight cuts she's doing are brutal. People have no clue, because also her attitude is so positive. She always looks like she's good, she's strong. But look at her body. You can tell the girl is sucked up when she gets on the scale. I mean, even if she's smiling, there's nothing left. She's completely drained. And there's a price to pay. And also what's going on is, like, every time you do those weight cuts, the second time is harder. Your body knows. And sometimes, what was working the first time is not working this time. It's like your body's protecting itself. You're not going to lose as much water as easy. And we kind of need to switch a couple of things. It's just, your body doesn't want to go through this. It's not healthy. And it just gets harder and harder. And I think this weight cut, for what I've heard, I wasn't there, but we have the same coach. Mike Brown was with me when I fought in Australia. So he saw her cutting weight for this fight, and he says it was a pretty similar weight cut. And we have no IV also to rehydrate. It's hard to have 24 hours. So dehydrate. You just don't drink water and Pedialyte and everything's going to be fine. It's more than that, especially for your brain.
Valerie, last question. Invicta has their world champion defending this weekend. Bellator just crowned their champion, and then the UFC had their season, crowned theirs. So flyweight is a division that's definitely being spotlighted here to close out 2017. And I wanted to ask you very, very simple question. you know, how would you describe the straw weights? Or sorry, how would you describe the flyweights? We know that the straw weights fight at 115, and they seem to be a little bit faster and more agile. And of course, 35 and 45, you know, they pack a lot more punch. You know what I mean? Some great athletes, strong athletes there. How would you categorize what flyweights can maybe bring to the table that the other two can't, even though it's only 10 pounds difference?
I think you pretty much said it. I think it's going to be the perfect mix of both. Very athletic girl, fast, and still strong women, like we see at 135 and 145. So, and also, you know, seeing women fighting at their full capacity. There's so many great athletes, and even, I know, the Ultimate Fighter, I mean, it's the girls that get to the show, but there's so many other good female fighters at 125 right now that were not on the show. So, every promotion, you know, the more door you open, right now they're just going to champion it for Bellator. So all these girls that are around this weight class are super motivated right now. There's so many opportunities that they can find with big promotions and finally make money and live out of fighting. I think this is going to bloom.
All right. Well, thank you very much for the time. We appreciate it. Good luck with the rest of your camp. Safe travels to Newcastle, England. Cannot wait to see your fight at Bellator 191 next weekend versus Kate Jackson.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. All right, folks, there you have it. One of 3 Bellator fighters that are headed our way. We still have a few minutes before we get to the next one. And right now, we're just going to keep the train rolling. We are joined by Sarah McCann. Not Sarah McMahon, Sarah McCann. 1-0. Just got your first win. Congratulations. What was that, like about a month ago?
Yeah, October. A month and a half.
Oh, sorry, you're right. There we go. October, you said?
Yep, October 15th.
Yeah, so how did it feel? First professional win.
The win, obviously, it's good to win. It was just nice to be in the cage. It was my first MMA fight ever. So
straight pro, huh?
Yeah.
Hey, you want to get paid, right? Why give it away? I like that. And so the experience, 1 out of 10. Did you love it, or was there anything about like, wait a minute, what am I doing here?
11. Absolutely loved it. I can't wait to get back in there.
Oh yeah? How soon are you thinking? Like 2018?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we're just the promoter and Enson, and then we're looking around right now to see when I can get back in there. I'm still new to this. I've got a lot of work to do, but I'm loving the journey so far.
Yeah. So what do you think, Coach?
Yeah, just the problem with Sarah is when fighting in Japan, she fights at 62 kilos, and there's not any opponents. So we're having a hard time finding opponents for her.
62 kilos, that's the 125 division,
125,
right?
135.
135.
Oh, 135.
Yeah,
okay.
For Japan, that's too big. So we're having a hard time finding her.
Didn't Rin Nakai fight at bantamweight here in the United States? But she's been a flyweight the last 3 fights, right?
So she's gone back down to 125.
Right.
So she would have been in his division now.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we're just pretty much when we can find her next fight, then she'll take the fight.
You know, I was glancing down when you walked over, but so I didn't get a chance to see how tall are you, and could you make 125 if you had to, just because of, like you said, there doesn't seem to be a lot of 25ers out in Japan.
I've never gone that low. I'm 5'6", I'm 168 centimeters. I've never tried to make 125, and I'm not too keen on doing the really harsh cuts. I'm looking at longevity in my career and you know, taking a bit more care of my body. So if that means I have to fight heavier girls, then I fight heavier girls.
Especially after hearing what Valerie was saying, how the body starts.
Well, she fought at 35 and then went straight to 15, right, Dan?
Yeah.
Yeah. Now she's settling in at 25, so she's had a taste of all of it.
Jeez.
But there just wasn't a 25 to go down to if you were in the UFC until last weekend when they crowned their first champion.
It's amazing what girls are putting their bodies through now. You know, for the sake of the sport, it's so good that 125's come up because so many of those girls have taken that drastic step. So,
what are your goals and dreams in this sport?
To go as far as I can.
Yeah. Okay. Did you fight because you met Enson, like, or have you been working on this for a while, or?
So I started.
How long is this journey?
I'm from New Zealand, and I started doing Muay Thai when I was in New Zealand before I'd met Enson. I'd had a few amateur fights there. And then I met Enson interviewing him for an MMA expo. He came to New Zealand. And then I moved to Japan eventually, and I had my pro kickboxing debut last year, so I've had a couple pro kickboxing fights, and then made the move to MMA.
Just made the transition.
Yeah, just made the transition.
So look at you, huh? Okay, I'll do the interview, but you gotta have some coffee with me later.
Yeah. I gave her my when she asked me, she had to interview Mark Hunt was there. Who else was there?
James Julaton.
So a lot of New Zealand fighters there. I was there, and she had to interview all of them. And she came up to me just when I was going to the bathroom. So the way I made her fall in love with me was, I told her, I gotta go pee. Can you wait? She waited, and that was it.
That was it. This is a keeper.
But that's for real. So I had to go pee, so I told her I gotta go pee. I'll be right back.
It's like the door test from the Bronx Tale.
Yeah.
There we go.
Really?
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. So that was my opening line to her. Actually, my first line that I told you. Huh?
How was the synergy between coach and athlete versus boyfriend girlfriend?
Well, we started as boyfriend girlfriend first, so there was that. Then we transitioned into the coaching, but knowing who Enson is and kind of what he's been through, there was already that. Like, I respect that from the get go. So that there hasn't really been any.
But what I meant was, as a coach, like, was he did he turn more into like a drill sergeant versus his honey pie, at home?
No. I think he treats me like all the other students, which is good.
Okay.
Yeah, I think I'd prefer it that way. Yeah.
Like I mentioned Rose Namajunas earlier. Pat Barry's one of her coaches, but she's been very open that up until about a fight or two ago, they didn't make it click.
Yeah.
And so they had to break away, and he was, if you noticed, he wasn't hanging over the cage during the introductions.
Yeah.
But they finally recently made it work. And so it took work, You just have to pull away. Brian Caraway and Misha Tate dated for 10 years.
Yeah.
Same thing, and they used to tell us that the work got left at home. They would never talk about fighting, once they got home. Now, since then, they're no longer together, but we've kind of accumulated all these stories. And I guess that's what I meant was, is it difficult to do both, now that you've already been through the process of having one fight?
No, I think we broke into it pretty well because when I started with the kickboxing and even starting the MMA journey, Enson was traveling a lot, so he had kind of left me with some of our the coaches and my Watanabe sensei in Japan to do a lot of that, the leg work there, and he'd come in and oversee a lot of my training. And then as he was in Japan more, he'd come and help me with my training a lot more. So we kind of broke into it slowly, but training aside, like there's always fighting talk going on in our house. So
yeah, we actually
really
don't separate it.
Yeah, we don't.
And so far, I guess because I know her personality, I know how hard I can go on her and how when I gotta back off. So far, it's been good. But the real test is going to be when she goes to that next level. Like if she gets into the UFC, to that level, if we can still pull it off like that, because it'll be a little bit more intense. But I think we can. If not, I'm willing to have someone else corner her.
So you come from a striking background.
Yeah.
How many years of experience do you have in the grappling world? Wrestling, jiu-jitsu?
1.
1 year, okay.
I started last year.
All right. Yeah. So it's still a work in progress.
Yeah.
Yeah. And are you enjoying it?
I'm like a little goldfish in a sea.
She loves it,
right
man.
now.
Oh, you love the ground game.
Yeah.
It suits her way better than the standing.
So it's not going to be one of those where you avoid the ground just to get back to your feet. You're going to look to attack on the ground as well.
No, wait till you see her ground and pound.
Okay. Very cool. You think in 2018 you may want to fight again? Do you have like some sort of a stable contract with Shudo, or are you looking to, take on your talents to like any other organizations that are willing to pay?
So far, we just had a meeting with Shuto, the association last week, and I want to establish myself as a Shuto fighter because that's kind of where we're starting. But opponents, of course, is a big task for us at the moment. So we're looking in Japan, if not maybe Korea, China, and then see where we go from there.
What about that one championship? Is it pretty big out there in Asia?
Yeah, it is.
Yeah?
It is, yeah.
Okay. Is that an option?
That's definitely an option.
Yeah.
Yeah, they have these big events that have red carpets and people in tuxedos. So they have a little knack for what they're doing over there as well. Very cool. All right. Well, it's very nice to meet you.
Thank you for having
me. And good luck. You know, keep in touch with us, whether it's through Enson's travels or we have to make an overseas call, and that way we can preview your next fight.
Right on. Thank you.
Okay.
Thanks for having me, guys.
All right, folks. That is Sarah McCann. And Sarah, what's that Twitter handle? Do you have a Twitter handle, or where can we follow you on Instagram?
Instagram will be better, probably. It's just at @S_J_McCann.
There you go. All right.
Right on.
All right, folks. We're going to take a break. When we come back, we will await our next call from Bellator MMA. Michael McDonald, who headlines Bellator 191, will be our next guest. Stay close.
They pat down TSA agents because they don't know where those people have been. And because they can. They are Gorgeous George and Goes. And this is MMA Junkie Radio.
Little David Bowie for you guys. Young American, this one's called. I like this one.
Yeah.
I'm waiting for an American fighter to go overseas and walk out to this one. Hopefully one day. All right. Speaking of an American fighting overseas, Michael McDonald will be doing just that. He'll be debuting at Bellator 191 versus Peter Ligier. Hopefully I got that right. In the main event at Bellator, December 15th at Bellator 191 in Newcastle, England. He joins us now on MMA Junkie Radio. What's up, Mayday? How you doing?
Hola, I'm doing good.
All right. Been talking to you for years, man, even before you were 21, making your way through the mixed martial arts. Are you happy that your career started off so early, you know, with so many high-profile fights, that at 26 you could, you know, you obviously can start a new chapter in your life like that?
Right. There's positives and negatives to it. You know, I fought such high competition so quick. You know, even while I was on my first UFC contract, and that kind of sucked. You know, I fought Miguel Torres on my very first UFC contract, and after you have a performance like that, it's hard to fight someone according to my pay grade. You know, when I just beat Miguel Torres and I'm still on my first contract after that, you know, stuff like that. There's complications business-wise, but personally, you know, when it comes to competitor in me, I'm very happy with it.
Yeah, I always wondered, and you nailed it. There's positives and there's negatives. Because, like, as a young guy, you can recover from injuries and just get out there and you make a name for yourself. And then at the same time, it's like you often hear from the fighters that are in their late 20s, early 30s, that only now are they really starting to hit their stride with experience and blending the mental and the physical.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you know, that is a good point of it, to think about the fact that I could have another 10 to 15 years if I wanted. It's pretty insane, because I've already been doing this for over 10 years now, professionally, and that's a good thing, as long as I keep my body intact.
Right.
Oh, I do it. I got a lot of miles, but I'm learning to take good care of my body.
You do, but luckily there's been a few years, like, you know, 18 months between your last fight and this one, and then of course in between Faber and Kanehara there was some time off as well. So hopefully there was some healing there. But, you know, I'll point to Rory McDonald, who made a move similar to yours, coming over from the UFC and now just whooping ass in Bellator. And he started off young, just like yourself. So you know, that's a good guy, good guy to maybe follow. You know, if you can be doing what he's doing, you could be a world champion Bellator.
That sounds okay with me.
Traveling. All right, let's talk about that. You did have a fight in London, England before, so this one's a little bit further north. And then after that, you pretty much stayed stateside. I asked Valerie the same question. Valerie Letourneau, she's on the same card as you. What do you like? Do you like traveling, getting away from it all, or would you prefer to be more of a North American-based fighter?
If I have to give you a straight-up answer, I prefer to stay home. But again, there's positives and negatives to it. You know, business-wise, which is why I'm doing this, you know, at this level, is it's just another complication. You know, if you going overseas, now I got to deal with jet lag, and now my phone charger is not going to work, and you know, I don't know. I'm not up to date on how even my phone service works overseas, and there's just more complications to deal with that my opponent's not going to have to deal with because he's from Europe, and so that's not cool when it comes to a business side. But personally, it is a cool thing to travel to different countries for your work.
I hear you there, man. I think I would like to split it up. Travel, you know, on some occasions, and then keep it home on another occasion if I had the abilities to fight. Something about foreign countries sometimes can give you a lot of love. You know, there's a lot of countries that fucking love mixed martial arts. Versus in the United States, you know, sometimes depending, like if it's football season, you may only be the second or third biggest deal going on in that city. So we'll see. You got a French opponent Mayday. So maybe you
by
can.
By the way,
yeah,
the pronunciation of his last name, I'm pretty sure is Ligier.
Ligier. All right. So maybe when you get over there, you can kind of use that U.S. British alliance and say, "Hey, I'm gonna kick this French guy's ass," and you'll get the all of England cheering for you in that fight.
Well, I don't know if I'll quote that, but I'll do my best.
Michael McDonald, our guest here on MMA Junkie Radio. Dan, what do you have for Mayday?
You know, Mayday, following your career for a minute, one of the things that always stood out to me was your passion for woodworking. And for me, that stands out because I used to work construction, used to help a rough carpenter. I did painting, so I would do jobs and come behind a finished carpenter if they needed help and whatnot. And I always loved working with instruments, tools, wood. It's almost therapeutic. Can you speak on that for you? What got you into it, and are you still practicing it while you're fighting?
Right. I got an interest from my grandfather. He passed away before I could learn from him or woodwork with him. He passed away maybe when I was 10, something like that. But he would make toys for us, and he made custom golf clubs and all this kind of junk like that. And we're always building stuff as gifts. And I remember like sneaking into his wood shop like as a kid, and I remember smelling the shop, and it was just like I worked with a lot of pine, so man, that was one potent smelling garage. Yeah, so I just remember just the smell of it, and always getting the toys, and it was just a really cool feeling, and I always wanted to do it. And then in high school, I took wood shop, and then advanced wood shop, and then 2 periods of advanced wood shop, and another 2 periods of advanced wood shop. When high school was done, I didn't have any more wood shop, and I volunteered as an outside assistant. Volunteered my time to go back to wood shop, build stuff, and teach kids how to do it. And then with my second UFC fight, my second UFC bonus, I decided to take that money and build myself a little shop, and then just kept building. And now I have a 1,000 square foot building right next to my house where I still do my woodwork, and now I do it for clients, and I do kitchen remodels, and I do custom furniture and everything you can imagine in between.
That's awesome. This might tie into my second question, speaking of passion and therapeutic exercises. We just had another bantamweight, Joseph Benavidez, in our studio yesterday, and he had a knee injury. So for one reason or another, fighters tend to have layoffs throughout their career. Obviously, yours is noted. Yes. He opened up about kind of the struggles and needing certain things to help get him through those times. Was this a big part for you?
Yeah. Oh yeah, woodworking has always. Since before I got into the UFC or WC or whatever, woodworking has been something that I've made money at, and it's been I'm self-employed, so I can make my own hours and do it when it's convenient. Excuse me, I'm burping here. Yeah, that's always been a big part of it, and I've always made pretty good money woodworking. And right now, this as an example, at this time in my life, and I don't think this is ever going to change. Woodworking actually pays my month-to-month bills, and then fighting income is supplemental, and that has seemed to work very, very well. It's actually made my life better, which makes training better. That might sound crazy to some people, that doing something else aside from fighting can make fighting better, but it truly has. And I think a lot of guys are finding out that is a viable option. You see someone like Stipe Miocic go and do so well, in the top of the heavyweight division, and he's, a full-time firefighter.
Yeah. All right. What is your favorite piece of furniture, I guess, to create, is my question.
I would say there's one thing that I'm particularly an expert on, which is ingrain cutting boards, and that's a passion of mine. I'll make it super quick because I could talk literally about these for hours. But ingrain cutting boards, a lot of people think about how like their knives and stuff like that and what they're eating, but they don't really think about what they're cutting on. Like if you cut into a plastic board and you make a groove in a plastic board, that means that there was material there, now it's gone. Well, where did it go? And it's in your food, and then it gets replaced by other food and turns into bacteria. And plastic boards are a breeding ground for bacteria, even though you can clean the crap out of them. Ingrain cutting boards don't make grooves, and they're easy on your knives. They're the highest quality cutting boards in the world, and that's one of my things. I love popping those things out, and I actually have some inventions in terms of in-grain boards that I'm looking to patent and to sell more of. Because I've only been able to sell my inventions to my friends, and I use them in my house, and they're fantastic, and I love them, and I can't wait to patent these things and sell them to other people.
I like it. You know, you ever thought about a reality show or something like that? I mean, I see people like that specialize just in tree houses, and I actually tune in, you know, so I don't know, but have you ever been approached just because it ties in, you know, with what you're doing? And I'll tell you this, a guy named Bristol Morundi here in town, who at one point fight in the UFC, you know, you may or may not have heard of him. He was on the reality show, and now I think he's still taking some fights. He's doing that the one where they flip over houses, flip or flop or something like that. And he's doing well with it.
Yeah. Yeah, I've never really given much thought or been approached about like a reality show. I've been approached a couple of times for movies and like little documentaries, but obviously those didn't work out. But no, I never really thought much about the reality show thing.
That'd be interesting. He needs to come up with a specialty like big ass barbecues in the backyard, or the you know, something play off the treehouse. I don't know, but very interesting. We're never let down by Mayday McDonald when we talk to him. He's always got something going on.
Thanks.
And of course, Bellator 191 next week versus Peter Léger in that main event. It's your debut with Bellator, and I'm sure you're anxious to show Bellator they made a great investment and that you can be a possible world champion for them.
Yeah, I'm really excited, man. This is the most focused I've been in a very, very long time. And not only that, it's the best shape, the best technical-wise, best strength, cardio I've ever been in my entire life. So, I mean, part of me wishes I felt less way for my, you know, UFC fights, particularly my title fight, you know, in UFC. But, you know, it happens the way that it is. God is sovereign over what's going on, and I'm positive that what happened was good. But, I mean, this is the greatest I've ever felt in my life, and I'm really, really excited to see how that translates in performance.
Yeah, like we started off, it may tie in with the fact that you just never peaked, and now you're about to do it, and you're going to be out there destroying for Bellator. But we got to remain and see what the result is. We'll definitely be tuning in next week on Spike. And thanks as always, Michael, for the time. We appreciate it. Great catch up.
Absolutely. Good talking to you.
All right, you too. We'll see you. All right, folks. Michael McDonald fighting Peter Léger next weekend, Friday to be exact. Newcastle, England is Bellator 191. Back to back, Danny. We're ready to go.
I believe so.
We are ready to go.
All right, let's do it. So the other half of the equation, we talked to Valerie Letourneau. She's facing Kate Jackson, who's now our guest on MMA Junkie Radio. How you doing, Kate? Thanks for joining us.
Hi, good, thank you. Thanks for the invite.
Yeah, no, we're really, really happy to have you on the show. Flyweight division is closing strong in 2017. You know, we got your fight going on here. Bellator just crowned a champion. Invicta has a champion, I think, defending tomorrow night. Tonight, is it tonight? When is Invicta, Dan?
Oh,
I think it's tomorrow night.
Tonight.
Oh, is it tonight? Yes, tonight. Jennifer Maia, and then the UFC had their run, of course. And here's why I'm excited about it, Kate, because I have one of the tasks of putting the rankings together for USA Today Sports and MMA Junkie. So I've been running across all of these names, including yours, and I'm excited to see your fight versus Valerie. You know, this is gonna be a rankings mover and shaker for me.
It should be, yeah. This month's a very strong one for the flyweight division.
Yeah, no doubt. All right, so tell me. I asked the same question to Valerie Letourneau, and I want to ask you, what do the flyweights do that the other divisions don't? How would you categorize it to like a casual fan that is familiar with, you know, what Cyborg and Gina Carano did back in the day at 45, what Ronda Rousey did at 35, and you know, Joanna and some of the young ladies at 15. What's special about your division, 125?
I think it's sort of approaching the power level of the heavier divisions, but still light enough that there's a lot of speed, a lot of scrambling going on. So it's I mean, the atom weights aren't in there yet. The UFC or Bellator already, so you only really see those in Invicta, and they're amazingly fast and scrambly. But yeah, I think the flyweight sort of apparently it's one of the most populated divisions in women's MMA, so it's the sort of size of the average woman in the sport, certainly. And so yeah, I think there's a good sort of speed power mixture going on at our weight class.
Definitely. And you know, one thing I noticed was in your last 5 fights that have been all wins since the draw that you had back in 2014, you had 4 finishes. What did that draw do? Even though it wasn't a loss, what did it do that just made you go on this run that you've had? And you've been kicking people, kneeing people, punching people, submitting people, so you're really, really getting after it. Did something click off of that draw?
Yeah, that was a really important one for me. I had an absolutely disastrous fight against Joanna in 2013. That was kind of a real turning point in my training and sort of my attitude to the sport, and really taking it seriously, or more seriously. And that fight was one I took on, I think it was about a week's notice. I really, really wanted it. Managed to get it sorted, and to go out there, you know, it was someone else's home fight again, and I fought promotion twice more after that because they treated me really well, and the judges scored it a draw against a home fighter. It could have gone either way. I have no problem with that. So it was just, I went out there, I felt good, I felt calm, I could listen to my corner, like psychologically, it all felt right. And that was a really big deal. So I think from then onwards, yeah, it all came together.
Kate Jackson, our guest here on MMA Junkie Radio. She'll be fighting at Bellator 191 next Friday, and you can watch the fights on Spike. Her opponent will be Valerie Letourneau. They're featured in the co-main event slot. Dan Tom, what do you have for Kate Jackson?
Well, I want to ask her a similar question to her opponent, only because, you know, Kate, you had a stint on The Ultimate Fighter 23. You did well, as in you want to fight to get in the house. You beat Ashley Yoder, who is a UFC fighter now. But was that? Can you speak to me on that? Was that just too much of a cut? Because you fought prior and since at flyweight. Was 115 just too much?
I mean, I did it for tough. I did it. I made weight 3 times. It was the first time I've ever done it. It's a hard weight to get down to. I don't enjoy it. I can do it, but the opportunity came up with Bellator, and I'd fought at flyweight most of my career. So whilst I'm never going to be one of the biggest in the division, it makes the training easier. I'm not absolutely killing myself, like trying to diet down, and I don't have to do massive water cuts. So I actually hate that about the sport. The water cuts in particular, because I don't want to destroy my kidneys. You've kind of seen that recently on the UFC with the title fight dropout. It's a hard one. You either be small for the weight class, or you do a big weight cut, which in itself is dangerous.
That's actually really refreshing to hear, and yeah, that is definitely a hot topic. And again, you know, all biologies are sensitive, but I can only imagine the difference, you know, with a woman's biology for what that does to your bodies. Now, my last question for you here is training wise. Who are you training with out there? Any particular gyms? Any particular coaches you want to give a shout to for getting you ready for this?
I've been training. I actually kind of have 4 gyms at the moment. There's my main gym, Concept Gym. I've been with them in Newquay, Cornwall for I don't know, about 9 years now. And there's my jiu-jitsu team, which is Flow Martial Arts Plymouth. And I've been getting a lot of sparring in recently with Lions Den, which is a team in Exeter. So yeah, everyone's been really great. It's muscle. I do a lot of travelling, an awful lot, about 700 miles a week at the moment, to get it all in. But if I want to stay here, if I want to stay in sort of the UK, there are very, very few full-time gyms, so it's just something you have to do.
And the reason, folks, we can understand her is because she's from the south of England, whereas when you get further north, we'd be like, can you repeat that? Can you repeat that? Can you repeat that? And that's exactly where she's going. She'll be going to Newcastle, England, in 1 week to fight Valerie Letourneau. But it's been nice meeting you, Kate. Really looking forward to this fight. Like I said, it has some implications in all these rankings that you'll be seeing pretty soon in our sport. Cannot wait. The flyweight division has been one that's been surging strong, I should say, in 2017. So thank you very much for the time.
That's okay. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. All right, big shout out to the group over there at Bellator, CJ, helping me line up those interviews back to back to back to back to back. Hey, what's the most weight you ever gave up to an opponent, Enson?
Oh, I think it was Mark Kerr.
Was it? Oof, big cat.
It was about I think it was 30 kilos.
Yeah.
So about 60, 70 pounds.
But
that was like 70 pounds of solid muscle.
But you came from a time where you just had to do it, right?
Well, I fought
there was no question.
There was no weight divisions back in Pride, so.
Are these young kids spoiled nowadays?
It's a different mentality. Yeah. It's a sport. Yeah. So when I knew I was going to fight Mark Kerr, I brought in a really huge sparring partner. So we prepared for it. Yeah. And also with the rules, how the rules, they say it's dangerous in Pride, how it used to be. We used to train for those rules, so it wasn't dangerous for us. Train for the.
Were headbutts still allowed?
No.
They had gotten rid of them.
No biting, headbutts, groin shots, or eye gouging. Yeah. But other than that, the soccer ball kicks, stomps, and everything was. I mean, as a professional, if you know that's going to be part of the rules, you practice for it and train to defend from it. So it's not really that dangerous. It looks really dangerous now because the fighters aren't expecting it. And when somebody makes a mistake and does a stomp or a soccer ball kick, because they're not ready and they're not prepared to defend it, it looks real brutal, yeah. But it's not really.
Destiny Forever. Is this a job for you or a passion for you?
It's a passion actually turning into a job, but I don't really see it as a job because it's something I want to do and I enjoy doing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I enjoy it a lot. And we were always talking.
I just like the name selection alone. Like, it seems like you put something into it, like what you're feeling. Why you blend the colors, and the story behind it. Pretty cool.
Yeah, I enjoy it. I love it. And we were always talking. If I hit the mega bucks, I'd probably still do the company.
Yeah,
that's what's up.
I would definitely still do the company. Just get better graded stones. Charge the same price.
DestinyForever.com is what we're talking about. I'm wearing Guardian Angel, and my other one is Samurai. So these are my two. I have one other one that I got recently, but I haven't brought myself to wear 3 yet.
She got 3. Oh, you got 2.
2 seems to fit nice.
Yeah, I haven't done more than 2.
Trig, I think, might wear 3.
Yeah, he does sometimes.
One day I think I'll rock 3, but I'm waiting. I think it's gonna be a special
3, but
moment.
one's on this side. Yeah.
One's on that side.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. And I like 2, and then I wear my watch if I wear a watch over here. But check it out, DestinyForever.com. Perfect time right now too, before Christmas. And if you're in Hawaii, Enson will be at the the Hilton Waikiki Beach
Hotel.
Right, not the Hilton Hawaiian. And you can come there and order them, or of course do it through Destiny Forever. It's really cool, man. He gets down to it and does it pretty quickly, because I was getting mine shipped from Japan in this nice little cool box, and then it's got a sleeve as well, a velvet sleeve. So it's really professionally done, and it looks great, and I get a ton of compliments.
Right on.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
What else is planned for the weekend?
Casino, buffet, casino.
Very cool.
Just gonna enjoy. Yeah.
Nice.
All right. Let's take our last break. You're listening to MMA Junkie Radio on Sirius XM Rush 93. We'll come back and we'll close up shop.
can drink Mentos-flavored Diet Coke without their stomachs giving a single fuck. They are Gorgeous George and Goes. And this is MMA Junkie Radio.
Want to thank all of our guests for the week. Dewey Cooper, Max Holloway, Jeff Juarez, Rashad Evans, Rachel Ostovich, Joseph Benavidez, Sean O'Malley, Austin Vanderford, Anna Julaton, Raufeon Stots, Valerie Letourneau, Kate Jackson, Michael McDonald, Enson Inoue, and Sarah McCann. It's been a great week, and of course we'll be back on Monday with more shows headed your way as we keep trudging along to close out 2017. Enson, thanks for hanging out with us for a couple hours.
Oh, thank you. I always enjoy doing this. Every time I'm in Vegas, I want to come.
We talked a little bit of boxing. We talked about a little bit about Destiny Forever, and you introduced us to your girlfriend, and you told us what it was like to coach. We know you've been in there willing to die as a fighter, so it's always great to just pick your brain about this sport. Want to wish you the best of luck on the tables.
I need that. Thank you.
And hopefully, maybe we can meet up for Lomachenko and Rigondeaux.
Yeah, maybe. I'll see what my parents are doing. And we'll
Very cool.
Up,
DestinyForever.com is his website. Check it out. These bracelets are awesome. And just in time for the holidays, if you want to give somebody a great gift from a great man. He's a good friend of ours, and every time he's in town, he comes in and hangs out with us. All right, Dan, so Cub Swanson and Brian Ortega. I think we both went with Swanson, right?
Yep, got Swanson.
Yeah, we'll see what happens there. In that one, I think the other high-profile fight, it's not the co-main, but Aljamain Sterling is who I got beating Moraes. I think it's going to be close, but I think that wrestling mentality might get him. Quick prediction.
Went with Aljo. If you want all my predictions on MMAJunkie.com, wrote a whole ton of analysis that's up right now.
You got Aljo, though, right?
Yep.
All right. Danny, great job as always. Back East producing the show. I know we threw a lot at you this week. You did a great job. Dan was awesome as well. Goes when he was here. Yeah, he was pretty good. He's about an 8 out of 10. I, of course, took it to another level. I was fantastic. We're out of here, folks. Go out there and be champions.
The nighttime turning night into daytime if you see it once.